committees and individual members as they approached him on issues. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, on matters that affect education, a committee where I sit, knowing full well that education is the greatest equalizer, Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the fact that 80 billion has been added to the budget of the education docket, bringing it to 700 billion. Mr. Speaker, we've looked at and already covered as free day secondary school, the JSS, the school infrastructure, university and TVET, and we are also aware that the school feeding program has been reinstated. Mr. Speaker, as much as this school feeding program only caters for the ASAL area, I would wish, and my desire going forward is that this matter be brought forward again so that the entire, as was proposed by a member, that all school-going children be given free food or free lunch. Mr. Speaker, for those of us who come from rural constituency, you may not know, but half of those children, more than half, actually go hungry without lunch. Whether they go back home, there is nothing to eat, and you can see them that these children did not have anything to eat. The Budget Committee, I can see the Vice Chair is here. This is a matter that should be taken up as a matter of urgency. The late President Moi was able to give free milk to all the schools. We, as Kenyans, must and should be able to appropriate funds for our children in school. Mr. Speaker, I also want to appreciate the fact that we have allocated money, 4.6 billion, for the recruitment of our interns. And I am happy that the 2 cohorts are going to be considered and not just the one that was initially proposed. So that now we will have 46,000 interns being recruited from the 1st of July to the permanent and pensionable terms. And I'm happy too that all of them will be recruited, and there is not going to be, and I underline not going to be a second interview, that they will be recruited because they had already been interviewed. Mr. Speaker, the issue of Jomo Kenyatta Foundation, previously a publishing institution, state corporation publishing institution, is going to be a one-stop shop for the management and administration of bursaries. Is a very good idea. We have so many bursaries within the Ministry of Education, different sections with all manner of bursaries. And if all this is consolidated under the Jomo Kenyatta Foundation, I believe that the whole process will be better managed. And I thank them for coming up. Ministry of Education, yes, we also supported this proposal, and it's now been budgeted for 100 million additional. Mr. Speaker, despite all this happening, I have seen that each constituency has been given 50 million for electricity. I had an opportunity of visiting the Ministry of Energy, and I was shocked, Mr. Speaker, to see that one constituency was allocated 400 million. 400 million. And this is what we are talking about on matters of equity, Mr. Speaker. Let us not be selfish. Even if the members of the committee or leaders are given certain allocation, let it not be over the board, as what we have seen in some cases. Let it not be over the board. 400 million for one is too much. And yet, I heard you speak that even schools, all schools, do not even have electricity. But, Mr. Speaker, it's not only on energy. If I remember clearly, when the Minister for Transport, I think it was the Minister for Transport, he was here. We can check the Hansard. When he said, when people were complaining about allocation of roads to certain individuals. What did he say? It is beyond him because it happens after what we have done. So the issue, my colleagues, is how can we rein in this selfishness amongst us? It will start with us. If we want to stop it, we must stop it here. That yes, you can be given favors as committees, but not to the extent of, you know, what I can call criminal. What I can call, I didn't say they are criminals, I said I can call criminal. Mr. Speaker, finally, I am happy with the idea that constituencies are now being considered as the reference point for the allocation of resources. And this should have happened like yesterday. The 290 of us who sit here, the 290 we represent constituencies. And we know each and every corner that even as money is being allocated, we can tell you whether it was used or not used properly. So thank you very much, committee, for coming with us this great idea to reduce inequality. Finally, implementation of budget. Mr. Speaker, this is key. We cannot be budgeting here, year in, year out. And we are hearing of suppliers not being paid, budgets not being honored. Where did the money go? Why do we have pending bills of billions of shillings and yet we have given out money? What is happening? What is happening? Why should our suppliers suffer out there not being paid? And we are sitting here talking of 2 trillion plus budget. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would propose that in line with Article 221 of the Constitution of Kenya, estimates and revenues and expenditure, I propose should be looked at the same time. So that as we look at the expenditure, how much money we are going to spend, we should be looking at these two together. Making decisions would be so much easier. And by the way, this is good practice across the world. It is not going to happen in Kenya here only. It's going to across the world. We should be looking at both at the same time. An issue was raised here on why that did not happen. The response was that it was done 2 months before today. But why was it done 2 months? Why was it being done 2 months before? Why can't we look at it now? As I look at this budget, I will be also to look at where this money is going and how it is being spent. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, and I once again support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was starting to get worried. Probably today was a day for affirmative action, where they gave priority to the so-called marginalized, for whatever reason, whatever that amounts to. Honorable Speaker, as required under the Constitution and common practice, a budget estimates must be presented to the National Assembly for deliberation and approval, or so passing, before they are implemented. It has been an annual ritual, Honorable Speaker, but as I've always commented, and I keep on commenting, it would seem that even though the Constitution bestowed the powers to make the budget on National Assembly, but there are too many extraneous and other forces outside there that eventually shape the outcome of the budget. Honorable Speaker, I stand here looking at the budget as the estimates have been presented, budget estimates, and obviously the first glaring observation that we need to make is that there has been an increase over the limits set under budget policy statement and the limits presented by the National Treasury to this House that has gone through various processing to get where we are. A quick review, Honorable Speaker, indicates that this Honorable House or the committee is proposing an increase close to 60 billion or 600 billion, actually 600 billion beyond the figures that had been presented by National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, I keenly listened to the chair Budget and Appropriation Committee, and I truly sympathize with him. Sympathize with him that probably the data has been presented paints a very rose picture, while the reality is the complete opposite, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's estimated that the economy grew, actually the economy grew by 5% in 2023. There has been optimistic projection that will grow by 6.5, some 5.5, but the reality, and looking at the dispatch from the World Bank released today in a meeting in China, has downgraded the growth, GDP growth of this economy to remain at the same level of 5%. So essentially, Honorable Speaker, we are stagnating, we are not moving. And the argument is so simple, Honorable Speaker. The growth rate of 5% last year was fueled with increased production in the agricultural sector. We have already reached the highest level of production we can reach. The rains, whatever much it rains, will still produce the same. So the agricultural sector is likely to record no meaningful change. So therefore, the rate of economic growth will remain the same. The status quo will remain the same. So to project a budget that is optimistic or based on projected increase in GDP growth rate is a fallacy and is off the mark, Honorable Speaker. That's why I say I sympathize with him. The data he was being given, well, obviously, anybody can cook data, anybody can play around with the statistics to fool any particular case. Honorable Speaker, we projecting to collect 2.94 trillion this the coming financial year. We projected almost the same amount, and we did not hit anywhere close to that figure. So this bullish view that our deficit will only be about 630-something billion, this particular financial year we are going into, again is based on the wrong assumption. We will again have another supplementary budget. And Speaker, I want you to go on record. Remind me this day, the number of supplementary budgets are going to be brought here to rationalize the budget, because the assumptions under which this budget is being made are wrong assumptions and will not really work at all. And that's why it's always important, Honorable Speaker, that we better be realistic. We get it wrong at the point of budgeting. And why do we get it wrong at the point of budgeting? Because the government, so to speak, the executive, so to speak, has not been in a position to clearly have a better look. What do we need to do? What do we need to do to get the proper figures to move forward? Honorable Speaker, you cannot grow an economy without production. You cannot grow the economy without manufacturing. You cannot grow the economy without moving goods and services in the economy. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the budget estimates, the productive sector, the blue economy, industry, which comes under manufacturing, small enterprise businesses, investment, Honorable Speaker, has been only allocated a paltry 35 billion. Yet, you want industry, manufacturing, and the related sector to contribute 15 to 18 or 20% of the GDP. I mean, it does not just make economic sense. It doesn't. You must put your money where you can generate higher returns, where the rate of return, where the marginal utility is beyond 1. Honorable Speaker, I do not see how. We are not even going to generate the so-called 2.9 trillion from which sector? We have increased taxes in the last financial year. We have not been able to hit even the target. Yet we continue building on the wrong fallacy. Second, Honorable Speaker, in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, devolved some certain functions to the counties. Functions, funds, budget must follow functions. Honorable Speaker, how do we explain the Ministry of Health has got a whooping allocation of 131 billion, which is close to 5.5% of the national government budget? What's the rationale? Yet health is a devolved function, Yet when you go to most hospitals in the rural Kenya, there are no drugs, there are no provisions, there are no gloves, there is literally nothing. Are we undermining devolution? Are we undermining devolution? Even the small amount the Council of Governors were complaining about, this 131 billion would have actually plugged the gap, would not have even gone to mediation. Honorable Speaker, it is time we must rationalize our budget. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, why 4.8 billion Office of the Deputy President? What for? You mean there's too much mandazis, that there are too many visitors, there are too many saved people, there are too many intercessors, there are too many prayer functions that has to consume a whopping 4.8 billion. Yet it's part of the presidency, and if you add the 9-point-something billion under the presidency, we are close to about 16 billion on one office alone. Office that does not produce any goods and services, office that does, the rate of employment is very minimal. Are we really serious without a budget making? Honorable Speaker, in the same office of the President, there's 400 million put there for coffee reforms, tea reforms, and drugs, fighting drugs. Yet, there's a Ministry of Agriculture. There is a Ministry of Trade and Industry that is dealing with the coffee reforms. The Ministry of Agriculture dealing with tea reforms. Ministry of Interior dealing with drug menace. Is it not duplication, a waste of resources? What kind of a government are we trying to prop up in this event? Yet, when it comes where it matters most, we have very many issues. Honorable Speaker, also looking at the various issues here, and I want to echo the comments that have been raised by our colleague, Dr. Ivo Bara. Honorable Speaker, it's so embarrassing for a member of parliament to keep on hovering from one office to another. From one office of PS, you are to chief financial officer, whatever it is, yet there are colleagues